Hare Krishna. Beautiful Saturday Kirtan Live every week. Saturday Kirtan Live, New York. 3 to 7. So everyone is welcome. Please come. We're having a special Saturday Kirtan session with beautiful Leela performance of the teachings of Prahlada Maharaj and the appearance of Lord Narasimhadev. And so, for the last few days, we've been speaking about the glories of Lord Narasimhadev. Today, we're going to speak a little bit about the speciality of Prahlada Maharaj. And why is Prahlada so special? First of all, who knows the meaning? What does the name Prahlada mean? What does Prahlada mean? Prahlada comes from alad, which means blissful, to be blissful. So we saw in this enactment that from childhood he was very blissful. So I want to talk a little bit about this point of spiritual life as blissful. Despite the difficulty in his life, he was always blissful. So how can we achieve that spiritual state of blissfulness despite all difficulties that may be in our life? Right? How can we become more like Prahlada? How can we follow Prahlada? Despite all the horrible things that may happen, despite all the difficulty, how can we come to that state of blissfulness? And we should understand that spiritual life doesn't mean suffering. First, we should understand that. Spiritual life doesn't mean suffering. Prahlada was blissful. And look at his life. At least we can take that lesson from him. It may be bad, our life might be difficult, but Prahlada's was really bad. They tried to boil him in oil, throw him in a pit of vipers, trample him with elephants, throw him off a cliff, expose him to hurricane. It's difficult, horrible. But yet, he was very, very blissful. It's very astonishing. Yes? It's astonishing. How is that possible? That he was always in a blissful state. Even as a little boy, and we say, oh, we need good association to be happy. He was good association for everyone around him. Where was his good association? He had faith in God, relation with God, but he had a good friend. Who was that friend? Narad Muni. The great sage. Narad Muni protected him when he was still in the womb of his mother. He protected him from harm at that point, when he was very vulnerable. And he also protected him through speaking about Krishna. If we want to be blissful, if we want to be happy, we must develop our relationship with true essence, true source, spirit, our innermost nature, and the self of the self, or God. That was the source of his bliss. As long as we are seeking happiness outwardly through the gratification of our senses, that's a lower mode of happiness. And it's temporary and fragile. Happiness from external objects and senses and people, that happiness is temporary and fragile, right? It's like a bubble that you can burst. Why? Someone may be making you happy today, but tomorrow they may become your enemy, and then you're not happy. You're not blissful. So Prahlada's bliss, first of all, we should understand. Prahlada's bliss comes from within. And how do we access that inner state? So there's the process of meditation, there's the process of yoga. These may give some serenity, Through yoga, you can achieve serenity and peace. And that is a good platform. But bliss, Ananda means spiritual bliss. So Prahlad was always relishing that from childhood. So therefore, Prahlad gave teachings how to become blissful to the students in the school. The students in the school, they were being taught that to be happy, you have to exploit others. To be happy, you have to enjoy at the expense of others. Control, dominate. Right? At the expense of the weak, the strong. Right? Big fish eats little fish. That's how you can be happy? This is our mundane, worldly ideology. We won't say it, but this is what people are doing in the world. I will be happy at the expense of others. But this happiness is not real happiness because it's causing pain, and we are not just individuals alone, separate from everything. We are tied into the web of all existence. It's described everything is manifesting from God and entering back within God, and so we are part of that fabric. And so if we're causing pain to others, the results of that comes back to ourselves, and we feel pain. So Prahlad Maharaj, what did he do? We see in his life that he was always blissful, and he tolerated even the most trying circumstances. We've been learning this verse in our temple in the morning. Our Gurudev would mention this verse many times, that we should learn tolerance, tatenu kampam sushamikshmana, and we should be compassionate. This is another lesson from Prahlad. Even when his father was tormenting him, when he was offered a boon from the Lord, he said, please, may my father be saved and may my father be happy. Such an enlightened, advanced mood. May my father, who's caused me all this pain, may he be happy. And maybe he be liberated. Nrsingadev said, I'll give you a boon, Prahlad. And Prahlad said, I have not served you to get some reward from you, because you'd think it'd be easy. God can give you anything you want. If God were to appear before you and say, what do you want, Janaki? Anything you want. Anything. Mallory, anything you want. God has the power to give it, right? If God were to appear before you, anything you want, Vrindavan, whatever you want. But yet Prahlad said, oh Lord, I don't have devotion for you because I'm expecting something from you. I don't love you because I'm waiting for something in return. Love is its own cause. Love is its own purpose. Love is it's self-contained. It's all-encompassive. It's complete. Simply loving, right, Krishna or God, that is giving full happiness or bliss. So there's no need for any external extra reward. Love is its own reward. But Prahlad said, I'm not a merchant who has worshipped you, waiting for something from you. And Nrsingadev said, please, you must accept a boon from me. God thinks, what else can I do? Those who are giving everything for me, sacrificing everything, tolerating everything, and yet with a smile. Always in meditation and chanting and fully having faith. This is another important lesson we can learn from Prahlad. It said that Sharanagati, which means to completely surrender our heart, it has 6 symptoms. And Rakshishyatiti Vishvasa, to have faith that God is our protector and maintainer. This is the foundation. So Prahlad had complete faith, and he was not even praying, oh Lord, save me. We don't hear in the Bhagavatam that he was saying, please save me, please save me. Despite all that torture, he didn't pray with any ill will to his father, nor did he even pray to God for him to save him. Oh God, save me, I'm suffering. Or this person, I'll get him back. He had none of that mood. And then when he tolerated everything and then God appeared before him, he didn't ask for anything. He didn't want anything. He was always blissful. Nrsingadev said, please, you must ask for something. So he said, may all beings be happy. How? Everyone is suffering in this world. This was his mood. The devotees don't suffer. Externally, they may be afflicted, attacked, on sickness, or so many people may attack them, but this doesn't affect their state of blissfulness, because that is coming from inside. External, good or bad, that's all the duality of material nature. Today someone is your enemy, tomorrow they may be your friend. Today someone's your friend, tomorrow they may be your enemy. But God is your friend and God is in your heart. So you don't have to look outside. So we sing this song. Where is he? Hiranyakashipu said, where is he? He's right here. He's right here. That is a high level of realization. But how do we realize that? So Prahlada gives many teachings about that. But Prahlada had this mood that everyone is suffering so much. How can I relieve this burden of their suffering? How can I relieve the burden of people's suffering? That is the mission of a saintly person. Their mission is not to gain followers for their benefit, to acquire wealth for their aggrandizement. Their mission is simply to help others who are suffering and bring them towards ananda, blissfulness. The living entity is sat, eternally existing, and chit, conscious. But why is the ananda lacking? If you could ask somebody, are you blissful? Well, sometimes I'm happy. But happiness and blissfulness, what is the difference? Like you can imagine the happiest moment you'd ever been in your life, and you multiply that by 1,000,000. And that moment, if you could crystallize it, and then make it so that you are always experiencing it at will. That nectar, that happiness, how can you experience that happiness? Our Gurudev would say it's like sugar. If you add some salt, if you have a cup and you put a quarter cup of salt in it, it's very salty. But if you have a bucket and you put a gallon of sugar and you put a cup of salt, that salt is enhancing the flavor. If you only put salt, cup and a tablespoon or two of salt. Oh, it's very salty. We put that same salt and add a lot of sugar and some fragrance and some lemon. Oh. So we say when life gives you lemons, you can't just make lemonade with lemons. You got to add some sugar. Right? So Prahlada was always blissful, but he said that seeing the suffering of everyone, when the Shringadev said again and again, you must ask for a boon. Please ask for a boon. You know what he asked for? He said, let me suffer, but let everyone else be saved and happy. That was his prayer. Let me suffer. And he said, oh, everyone's suffering, but also harming each other and always committing violent acts, causing pain and suffering. Let them all be saved and not have to suffer the consequences of this. And I will go to hell for them. Until all of their bad karma is nullified, I will go and suffer for them and let them be saved. He had no fear. I will go, we think, oh, he would go to hell for them. Hell is how, if you're internally blissful through bhakti in your relationship, that's not possible. So Nrsingadev said that's not possible. I won't allow it. It's not possible. But you see the mood of Prahlada? This is the mood of a true saintly person. They feel pain at the suffering of others. And they want to show them the pathway to actually be happy, to be blissful. So Prahlada Maharaj taught this to the boys in the school. We shouldn't think spiritual life means to be miserable. Spiritual life means, okay, how to be like a monk. Step 1. Never smile. Step 2, always frown. Step 3, do penance. Step 4, get a whip and whip yourself. Right? Then you can be a monk. Monkey? Right? That is not monk life. Monk life means, in Kali Yuga, this age, no distractions, only bliss, only happiness. In other kinds of life, you have to mix happiness with sadness. Why? The nature of this world is full of pain and suffering. But we're saying no need, opt out. Like you get an option, right? Terms and condition. Do you agree? When you sign up, do you agree? Do you want it? No, I don't agree. So no need. No need this, no need this, no need this. Only happy things. What is that? Shravanam, to hear. What do we hear about? You are a bad person. This is what we should hear about. This is Harikatha. Harikatha means everyone is bogus, everyone is bad, everyone's a bad person. Bad, 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 bad. If everyone else is so bad, maybe I am also bad. Maybe I need to look in the mirror. Harikatha doesn't mean everyone's bad. Harikatha means hear the glories and the sweet pastimes of Krishna. All the demons that came to Vrindavan, Krishna didn't think you are bad. Hiranyakashipu, he thought you were a bad person. No, he thought, how can I make you happy? And you're suffering here in this body, in this condition, so let me make you happy. We're very attached to our body, so we think, oh, he killed him. Soul is eternal. If you're having a bad trip, right? You're having a bad trip. It's like maybe you need to get out of that experience and get in a new trip. Right? A good ride. So sometimes Nrsingadev or any incarnation of the Lord will kill the demons. Why? Because they're suffering and they're causing suffering. So okay, let me liberate you. Be happy. Right? Sarva Sukhinu Bhavantu. This is the teaching of the Veda. Everyone should be happy. So spiritual life doesn't mean to be miserable. We should have the courage to conquer our misery. How? So Prahlada Maharaj said we should hear. Hear what? Shrinvata Svakata Krishna. Krishna is very sweet. We hear kirtan and we hear about the sweetness of Krishna. Maduram Mangalam Mangalanam. Krishna's names are the sweetest of the sweet and the most auspicious of all auspicious things. So people think, oh, this bhakti stuff, we're dancing and we're eating nice food and we're spending time together and we're singing. This is some kind of sentimental, spiritual religion and it's just for attracting people. No, this is our way of life. We are practicing how to be happy. Why? Dance, sing, be together with friends. What's the difficulty? But the mind, the shadow, Hiranyakashipu, the anartas, they're always following us, grabbing onto our ankles, pulling us down. So Prahlada Maharaj said, if you want to be free of these shackles, of your anartas, your inner demons, don't think the demons are outside. Prahlad said to Hiranyakashipu, someone who thinks this person is my friend, this person is an enemy, they're in illusion. There's no friend and no enemy. We have to understand that this is all part of our cycle of karma, and how do we break that wheel? We have to follow the example of Prahlad. We can break that wheel of suffering, of karma. Karma by nature is suffering, painful. But through the process of bhakti, then we can become blissful. So Prahlada Maharaj said you should hear about Krishna and you should do kirtan. Speak about Krishna and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These names, Lord Chaitanya came and he said, by chanting these names, first result will all those inner false identifications will be washed away. Cheto dharpana marjanam. The Hiranyakashipu mood can be cleansed by chanting Hare Krishna. The power is in the name. Krishna said, I am investing all my potency in my name. So simply, this is the most important thing. Every day we should try to chant. You may say, I'm very busy, I have so much work to do, but you can do a little in the morning, a little in the evening, and anytime you have spare time, Hare Krishna, or play some music, a little bit. At least chant 1 round, 2 rounds, 4 rounds. This is very powerful. This can lead you to the true happiness. You Shama Prabhade Shavala Prabhade. This can lead you to Krishna. And what is the nature of Krishna? Anandamoy. In the Vedanta, Krishna is Anandamoy. His nature is he is blissful, and he's always relishing bliss in the association of his associates. This is his nature. So how do you approach Krishna, find Krishna? It starts by wanting, desire. I don't have desire. So you simply start. How? Hare Krishna. It's very simple. People think it's too easy and it's too cheap. So, I don't know. I'm a cynic. Everyone's a cynic. If something costs $10,000, oh, you want a spiritual method, I'll tell you. First, $50,000, and I'll give you the secret mantra. $50,000 secret mantra. I'll only tell it to very few, and also if you're qualified to hear it. And you have to show how much you want it by collecting this money and giving me. But Mahamantra is cheap, free. People think, oh. But Krishna in his name is one. God in his name is one. All his potency is there. So Mahaprabhu said, all your false inner anarthas, all the inner false ego, all that will be washed away. Bhava Mahadavagni, the forest fire will be extinguished by the rain of mercy, that shower. Kirtan and Harikatha, that is the shower. Kirtan and Harikatha, that is the shower of mercy that is putting out the forest fire of suffering. Then very quickly, the moonbeam of good fortune is arising, all transcendental knowledge is being achieved, and then Anandam Buddhivardhanam. Then you can achieve this blissfulness. So you have to follow this process. Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purna Amrita Swadanam. At every step you can be blissful. Purna Amrita, complete nectar, complete blissfulness. We see examples of great sages, of great personalities. Since time immemorial, following this process, they achieve spiritual ecstasy. So Prahlada, it said from the time he was 5 years old, he was always blissful. He was always dancing, singing, crying, bliss. So we follow Prahlada. So Prahlada said, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. As devotees, we don't often follow this so much. We think, oh, Smaranam. I'm not qualified. I am qualified to remember everything but Krishna. Some have this problem, some don't. Right? But we think, I am qualified to remember everything but Krishna. How are you going to forget everything else if you don't think of Krishna, remember Krishna? So therefore we do Smaranam. Prahlad Maharaj said, Smaranam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. How can we remember Krishna? We can all sit nicely or lay down comfortably and relax. Relax bhakti. Simply relax, and whatever you've heard about Sri Krishna, you can remember. Whatever cherished qualities you can remember, and you can do some sevanam. Smaranam, sevanam. What does that mean? While in meditation doesn't mean forget about everything. Meditation means remember Krishna and forget about everything else. And in your heart, you can meditate. Prahlad always had that temple in his heart, wherever he was. Even if I'm in hell, I'll be in my inner space. Nothing outside can harm me there. So in his meditation, he would always serve Sri Krishna. That's why our Gurudev would say, we heard this from Narayan Prabhu, right? When Prahlad was being attacked by his father, and then his father asked, is he in the pillar? We just heard this today. Gurudev said this class in New Braj. Prahlad was looking at the pillar, and then Krishna peeked out. And he said, yes, he's in the pillar. And then he struck the pillar, and Lord Nrsingadev appeared. So, because he was always meditating on Krishna within, Krishna easily manifested. Krishna is everywhere. But first we have to understand he's within. Then we can see him everywhere. Tulsidas says, very beautiful prayer. Siya Maya sab jagajani koro pranam koro judapani. You should be able to see God everywhere. But how? Through the process of bhakti or awakening love. Your relationship. Love is based on sambandha, relationship. Someone you don't have relationship with, how can you can love them in the sense of universal love. But the more intimate that becomes, the more your relationship thickens. So we're looking for that thick grita, that very thick, condensed relationship. Like honey and like ghee. Very greasy and sticky and very sweet. Not easy to wash off. Right? Inside, outside. That's why we do Abhishek of Krishna. Ghee, honey, sugar, yogurt, milk all together. Right? So that our Abhishek, our heart can be bathed with that nectar. So Prahlada Maharaj taught this to the boys. And he also told them that, he said, look, you're trying to be happy in your life through playing, through family life, through work, through career. You're trying to find happiness according to your desire. Your desire is like the propulsion in your life. But that happiness that you find in this world is so infinitesimal that compared to spiritual happiness, it's tucha, insignificant. It should be disregarded. Spiritual happiness, you should focus on that. Because that's so powerful. But how do we get there? So he said, Guru Shushrushaya Bhaktya Sarva Labdharpanena Cha Sangena Sadubhaktanam Ishvara Radhanena Cha Shraddhaya Tatkatayam Cha Kirtanat Gunakarmanat Tat Param Buruhadhyanat Tallingekshar Hanadibi. You should approach a saintly person, Guru, who is themselves blissful. Right? You want something from someone, they have to have it to be able to give it. So they have to be Brahmani Upasamasharayam, connected to Krishna. In the shelter of Sri Krishna. Jai Krishna Tattva Veta. Say Guru Hoy. Who is Guru? Someone who knows Krishna. Or knows the truth about Sri Krishna. Krishna Tattva. What does it mean to know someone? Anandamayo Bhyasat. Krishna is always blissful. Who knows Krishna? Srimati Radhika knows Krishna. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. If you want to understand who is Krishna, you must approach Srimati Radhika or those who are in her line, or in the line of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Someone who is very close to Krishna, who is blissful, Nityananda, experiencing bliss. That's why Guru is described to be in that line of Lord Nityananda. Why? He's eternally blissful. So this is, Prahlada Maharaj said, don't think I'm telling you to give up games and play because I want you to follow spiritual life very seriously. You must follow spiritual life very seriously. Yes, but you should follow it very joyfully. Be serious about your ecstasy. But people say, oh, I'm not happy, I'm not ecstatic, I'm not blissful. Parents, if they had kids and said, no, you don't have to go to school, just be happy. Go to school so you can become happy. Right? But proper education. The point is that there's a process, there's a procedure, there's a science, the science of self-realization, and that's described very elaborately in the Vedic literature. The main axiom of the Vedic literature is Sarve Sukhinu Bhavantu, let all beings be happy. We shouldn't think that's just like a sentimental, oh, everyone should be happy. And we can all agree on that. Everyone should be happy. Everyone should be happy. Yay. They're not just saying that. Now they're going to teach you throughout the entire Vedic literature how to become happy. So you have to follow that. We say, oh, I'm not happy now, so I'm going to be happy by taking intoxication. I'm going to be happy by illicit relationships. I'm going to be happy by gambling. I'm going to be happy by this and by that. True happiness doesn't come from external objects. So Prahlada Maharaj said you find that within. So our spiritual life is like that. We say we are turning spiritual life on its headstand. Why? So you can become healthy and happy, because everyone thinks spiritual life means, a lot of people think, oh, spiritual people, they're always doing austerity and penance and suffering and miserable. Right? Our austerity is to hear about Krishna, speak about Krishna, think about Krishna, take Krishna's prasad. But that leads you to blissful state. So Prahlad Maharaj, when Nrsingadev gave him this boon, he said, "O Lord, let all beings be happy and free of suffering, and let me suffer in their place." And Nrsingadev said, "No, it's not possible." So he said, rather, if anyone hears about this pastime, they can be happy. And they can be liberated from all kinds of suffering. So therefore, every year we'll hear this pastime, and then also different times throughout the year we'll hear this pastime. Why? Because this is our simple process. This age is very difficult. And this time is very difficult. We say, oh, I don't have the strength, I don't have the capacity. No problem. If you don't have the strength, then sit down and hear. We're not telling you to do 1,000 pull-ups and push-ups for spiritual life. No. Have the strength. If you don't have the strength to stand, then sit down and hear. If you don't have the strength to sit, then lay down and hear. No problem. But hearing is very important. Prahlad Maharaj said you should hear. And Prahlad Maharaj said that if you follow the process of bhakti, especially, he said, iti pungsarapita Vishnu, especially by developing relationship to Krishna, or Govinda, or Vishnu, then very quickly you can evolve through different stages of spiritual life. Shraddha, faith, nishta, very firm, fixed faith, then taste, ruchi. Once you start having taste for the process of bhakti, then you become very peaceful and happy and blissful. But in the meantime, right, everyone says, oh, I haven't achieved bhav yet. I'm bogus, I'm useless, I'm horrible. I'm not a pure devotee yet. Why not just be a devotee? That's okay. Right? Did everyone have a good time so far today? Right? Nice drama, nice people, have some nice prasadam together. So sometimes we just have to be at peace with ourselves and with whatever condition we are in at present. Right now I am okay. This moment everything is okay. And I may have a bad day, I may suffer, but that's okay because I'm following the process with faith and with dedication. And that will lead me to taste. Once you have taste for something, and the beauty about bhakti is that it's not something that you can, it's so sweet, but you never get diabetes. In this world, you want to eat a lot of sugar, a lot of sweet things, you're going to get sick of it. But bhakti is such that you always want more, especially once taste comes. So people say, I've been chanting many years, I don't have any taste. Why? Is there something wrong with the process? Maybe you're just not following the process as it's properly delineated. We think, oh, I should just chant the Maha Mantra. But chanting, Prahlad Maharaj said, first comes Shravanam, hearing. If we can hear every day by the power of this hearing, then all those different things that are obstacles in the heart will gradually be removed. And we don't have taste, so Rupa Goswami said, no problem. If you don't have taste, still follow this process. Taste will come. But in the meantime, if we can unburden ourselves from guilt, from the anxiety of not being good enough for something, or not being, I'm not a good person, I'm not this, I'm not that. That's all Maya, illusion. Material good and bad is both Maya. I'm a good person, I'm a bad person. I'm happy, I'm sad. This is all illusion. How can we be truly blissful? Prahlad Maharaj said, follow this process of bhakti. So then there's one more important instruction. We say, oh, I don't have taste. I'm trying. But I still don't have taste. I'm not happy. I'm not blissful. Why not? Why am I not happy? I'm doing everything they said. Are you? Shravanam, hearing, doesn't mean alone. Kirtanam also. Sankirtan means together. But who? With who? Mukta Sangha. With devotees who are helping you advance, who are affectionate to you, who have a similar mood. Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad, where have you learned this from? Why have you become so devoted and so blissful in your relationship and spiritual mood? How have you become so happy? Despite all this torment and torture. Hiranyakashipu, the last thing he tried to do is he tried to give poison to Prahlad through his mother. And Prahlad said, no problem, I offered to Krishna and it became like nectar. No problem. How have you become so happy despite all this? Where have you learned this from? Your teachers taught you this? He said, no. So this is a very important lesson also from Prahlad. Prahlad said, simply on our own, even we may be chanting, even we may be hearing, even we may be remembering, we may be serving, we may be worshipping, we may be doing archan, puja, worship, we may be offering prayers, but still, a transformation doesn't occur. You can hear so much. You can go to bed and put it in your ears, and you can wake up, and 24 hours a day you can hear. But just that alone, there's something extra, something more. So Prahlad Maharaj said, Naisham matistavarukramaangrim sprisatyanartha Pakima madartha mahiyasang padarajobhishekam niskinchananam navrnitiyavata. You need sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha means sadhu is many levels. Sadhu means like a saintly person, right? So, if you dress like a sadhu, if you walk like a sadhu, if you talk like a sadhu, that makes you a sadhu. If you walk like a duck, if you talk like a duck, you are a duck. But maybe you've just taken duck lessons, but you don't have the mood of a duck. You walk like you go to duck school. How to walk like a duck, how to talk like a guru, walk like a guru, act like a guru, act like a sadhu, but that doesn't make you guru or sadhu. You can have very simple clothes, or you think, I need to impress people, so I need to wear very opulent clothes and long flowy hair and learn how to smile. Right? With great joy, you have to show that you're always blissful. And you have to speak very slowly and talk about joy. Right? Be blissful. Right? But sadhu isn't just the external. Sadhu is something deeper. Sadhu may be harsh. Sadhu may be sweet. It said, Vajradapi katorani. Sometimes sadhu is very strong, like thunderbolt. Sometimes they're very soft, like a rose petal. But Prahlad said, without sadhu, it's very difficult to cross over the material ocean. Birth and death. Very difficult. Sadhu. Because otherwise we think, I am the doer, I can do everything by my power, by my strength. Prahlad Maharaj said, you must take the dust, the lotus feet, of those who are the topmost sadhus. There are many levels of sadhus. But Krishna said, who are the greatest sadhus? Napare ham niravadya samyajam svasadhu krityam. The Brajagopi, Shrimati Radhika. And they are the topmost sadhus. Because what is the quality of a sadhu? Pure, nisvartha, selfless, pure love, prem. Nirupadik prem. That pure, spotless love, you have that? Man, woman, child, old, young, any place, any caste, any creed, any from this world or another world, from a lower planet or a higher planet. You have that prem, that love for God, and then love for others, then you are sadhu. So you take shelter of that sadhu. How? Where are they? You pray to Krishna, please. Sadhu sangha, sarva sastri koi. Lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Life is very difficult. I can say from my experience. Gurudev told me, I want you to be a brahmachari. From young age. But without sadhu sangha, without the power and the mercy and the desire and the dust at the lotus feet, that shelter, spiritual life is not so easy. Again and again, Maya will take us on detours. Because the living entity is higher than Maya. It's a higher principle than this illusory world. But yet, Maya is very powerful. It's all around us. How are we going to conquer over Maya? Right? So say we're suffering and we want to be happy, but we're suffering. Is it possible? Just start, I can make a decision, I'll be happy. So sadhu sangha, sarva sastri koi. All the scriptures say you must take sadhu sangha. That's why it's not enough. I can just read a book. I can just watch a video. I can just do a practice, a process. No. Our process is sadhu sangha, harikatha, kirtan, then harinam. All together. Sangena sadhu bhaktanam. This is what Prahlad said. Sangena sadhu bhaktanam. To associate with sadhus. and bhaktas. This is your process. Otherwise, life is full of pain and suffering. You may think, I'm happy today, but who knows what's around the corner? But how can you develop that spiritual strength like Prahlad? So this is our prayer. How can we become very strong like Prahlad? Prahlad was in the association of Narad Muni for thousands of years. Hearing, hearing, hearing. So Harikatha gives us great spiritual strength. Bhagavat says, Satam prasanga mama virya samvido. Krishna's power, his potency, his strength is in the speech of those who are sadhus glorifying him. So you want to be spiritually strong? You should hear about Krishna. Not just like, oh, I can go and I can pay someone to give a lecture about the Bhagavatam. This is not Bhagavat. Bhakta Bhagavat, then Grantha Bhagavat. So we have to find the shelter of those personalities, and also ourselves, we should try to come to that platform where we can help others. This is also what Prahlad, we can see that lesson from him. He was very tolerant, and he had a mood of true, like the highest kind of humanitarian philanthropic spirit, right? He wanted to help everyone. And so we pray to Prahlad Maharaj, and Nrsingadev has so much affection for him. Why? Ultimately, we also hear that Prahlad Maharaj internally is very connected to Swarup Shakti. Swarup Shakti is Bhakti Devi. Bhakti Devi means the goddess of devotion, the goddess of that experience of blissfulness, which she is always pleasing her beloved Krishna, endeavoring to please her beloved Krishna, therefore she is also always blissful. And so this is also our secret, Prahlad Maharaj said. You want to be alad, you want to be happy? Try to help and serve. And we hear in the Sastra, water the root of the tree, then the whole tree is nourished. So that means meditate on Krishna, serve Krishna, hear about Krishna, speak about Krishna, become absorbed in that, then naturally this leads to your own happiness. So Prahlad Maharaj gave so many important teachings. This is just like one little part, 1.01% of his teachings. But if we can follow this, then we can gain all benefit. So we may say God is everywhere, but do we experience that? So by sadhu sangha we can experience that. I know the times I was with Srila Gurudev, it was like you were in the presence of all the Brajabasis. You felt like they were there. So this is important for us. So this is just a meditation that spiritual life isn't for suffering. Spiritual life is for happiness. Spiritual happiness, not through the senses, but through the spiritual senses. Prahlad alad adhaine, and through giving happiness to Krishna, and Krishna giving happiness to Prahlad. It said, Prahlad alad adhaine. Prahlad is the giver of happiness, and also receiving from Krishna. They're in that relationship. So the happiest moments you've been generally are in relationship, but these relationships we have are temporary, so if we can experience relationship with Krishna, that is blissful. So we pray to Prahlad Maharaj, we pray to Nrsingadev. Nrsingadev is also very gentle, very loving, but also very strong. So Prahlad, after Nrsingadev, everyone was afraid of Nrsingadev, but Prahlad had no fear. So we can learn that from Nrsingadev. Sometimes we're afraid of God also, because sometimes God appears in a very fierce form. But because Prahlad was so pure and innocent, he himself was never afraid. That's another lesson we can learn. Sometimes we may be afraid of God. God is who we should... God frees us from all fear, but many people are afraid. So we can take that lesson from Prahlad. Even when God was in his most fearsome form, actually he was in the mood of simply protecting his devotees. And often we cannot understand his ways, and so we are suffering. We cannot understand his ways. We're in anxiety. We cannot understand his ways. But that's ultimately leading to our happiness. Even with Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was killed, but he was liberated. And so he became happy. It took some time. Took a little bit of a lila. But this is our meditation from Prahlad as well. That we should understand that Prahlad is teaching us that there's no need to be afraid of God, of Krishna. And if we approach with this mood of purity, everyone else was afraid of Nrsingadev. Even those who are realized, Brahma, the demigods, even Lakshmi was afraid. But Prahlad was not afraid. You can imagine. After all he had gone through, he saw the Lord, he didn't have the slightest fear, and the Lord put him on his lap, was weeping. And said, like a tigress, lioness will lick her cub. Prahlad was very affectionately, right, weeping, bathing Prahlad with his tears and licking him on the hair. Very gentle, soft. I don't know, lions' tongues, I don't know if they're abrasive or not. Cow tongues are abrasive. But said he was had so much affection. And we should understand that this is also a manifestation of the love of Sri Krishna in this mood. So today we're praying to Prahlad Maharaj, we're praying to Nrsingadev, we're praying to all our Guru Varga. Prahlad gave so many teachings. But ultimately all these teachings, they can be activated in our life if we follow the most essential parts, then we can start seeing the results. So we may say, oh, I can't memorize 100 verses or 200 verses, and then what's going to happen? We think I have to memorize everything. No, it's not about how much you memorize. It's about how you live and who you live with and how you take shelter. It's not about learning everything and then not living through doing anything. So we should learn one thing and follow that and then see the results. Learn one thing and follow it. So what we can learn today is the potency of hearing about Krishna and then doing kirtan, being with sadhus, or sometime even. It said even a moment. You may say, oh, I cannot always live with a pure devotee. Yes, but you can have a moment association. Lava matra sadhu sangha. That moment can free you of everything. So therefore Prahlad Maharaj said, without that sadhu sangha, crossing over the material existence is not possible. Vina bhavatarya iha urugara. It's not possible. So sadhu sangha is vital. And we also learned from Prahlad that Prahlad was always blissful because he had that internal relationship, internal understanding, internal presence. And so nothing external could affect him. Therefore spiritual life doesn't mean to repress yourself. Oh, I'm not happy unless I do this, I have to repress myself. No. We have to find happiness in the simple performance of bhakti. And not always be worried that, oh, I'm not good enough, no. This is not our teaching. You are bogus. No, I am bogus. We should be humble, we should have regret, we should see our faults, no problem, but we should not associate with those faults. And don't identify with those faults. Say, okay, time to offer my pranam to your association. I don't associate with my faults anymore. I don't associate with my bad qualities anymore. They may be there for some time, but if you don't associate with them, they'll go away. They'll go somewhere else. So we pray to Prahlad Maharaj for strength in bhakti, and also we just pray to come together again. And we're so grateful for everybody who is here. Please come again. Please come all the time. This is your home. Okay, Hare Krishna, Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubevacha, Patitananga Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur.